Picture this. You're sitting in your Sherman tank somewhere in France, summer of 1944. You're scanning the horizon, looking for enemy positions. Then you hear it, a sound like a freight train ripping through the air, followed by an explosion that makes your ears ring. Your buddy's tank, 200 meters to your left, just erupted into flames. Nobody got out. You never saw where the shot came from. Welcome to fighting against the German 88. The 88mm gun didn't start as an anti-tank weapon. It began as an anti-aircraft gun, designed to shoot down high-altitude bombers. But during the Spanish Civil War in the late 1930s, German forces discovered something terrifying. When they lowered these guns and fired them horizontally at Republican tanks, the results were devastating. The high-velocity shells punched through armor like it was made of cardboard. By the time World War II started, German commanders knew they had something special. The 88 could fire a shell at nearly 3,000 feet per second. That's almost twice the speed of sound. At that velocity, the kinetic energy was absolutely monstrous. When that shell hit armor, physics took over. The metal didn't just dent or crack. It catastrophically failed, sending molten fragments spraying inside the tank. Here's what made the 88 so absolutely nightmarish for Allied tank crews. Range. A Sherman tank's 75mm gun could penetrate German armor at maybe 1,000 meters under ideal conditions. The 88 could kill a Sherman at 3,000 meters. Think about that. German gunners could destroy your tank from a distance where you couldn't even see them clearly, let alone fight back effectively. Allied tankers developed a sickening routine. If you spotted an 88 position, you didn't engage. You called for artillery or air support and waited. Trying to charge an 88 position was suicide. The gun could fire 15 to 20 rounds per minute with a well-trained crew. That meant multiple tanks dead before you even got close enough to return accurate fire. The psychological impact was devastating. Tankers knew that at any moment, from any direction, a shell traveling faster than sound could punch through their armor before they even heard the gunfire. You'd be dead before your brain registered the threat. Some crews reported the only warning was seeing the muzzle flash 3 kilometers away. And by then, the shell was already halfway to you. The 88 came in multiple configurations, and all of them were deadly. The Flak 36 was the towed anti-aircraft version that could be quickly repositioned. Then came the Pak 43, purpose-built as an anti-tank gun with an even longer barrel for higher velocity. But the most feared version was when they mounted it on vehicles. The Ferdinand tank destroyer carried an 88 in a massive armored casemate. The Tiger tank mounted a variant as its main gun. When that happened, the nightmare became mobile. British tankers in North Africa were the first to experience the 88 on a large scale. During the battles around Tobruk and Gazala, German forces positioned 88s in defensive lines. British Crusader and Matilda tanks, with their lighter armor, were slaughtered. Crews described watching their lead tanks simply explode without warning. The psychological reports from survivors show something chilling. Many refused to advance again after seeing what the 88 could do. The Germans were masters at hiding these guns. They'd dig them into hull-down positions where only the barrel and shield were visible. They'd camouflage them in tree lines or buildings. Some crews would fire a single shot and immediately relocate, knowing that counter-battery fire was coming. This hit-and-run tactic meant Allied tankers faced an invisible enemy that could kill from extreme range. American tank crews developed their own terminology. They called being hit by an 88 getting 88. There was no shame in retreating from an 88 position. Commanders knew that trading 3 or 4 Shermans to silence one 88 was a losing proposition, even with American production advantages. The gun was just too effective. The ballistics tell the story. An 88 shell had about twice the penetrating power of a Sherman's gun. Against the Sherman's frontal armor of roughly 75 millimeters, the 88 was complete overkill. It could penetrate that armor at angles and ranges where the Sherman was effectively helpless. Even late-war Shermans with upgraded armor couldn't stand up to it. Soviet tankers on the Eastern Front had similar experiences. T-34 crews learned quickly that the 88 could kill them from distances where their 76-millimeter guns were useless. The Soviets' response was sheer numbers. They'd saturate an area with tanks, accepting that several would be destroyed, but overwhelming the 88 positions through mass assault. It worked, but the cost in lives was horrific. The sound became legendary. Veterans described the 88's distinctive crack when it fired. High-velocity guns create a supersonic shockwave that sounds like a whip crack amplified 1,000 times. Soldiers learned to recognize that sound and immediately dive for cover. If you heard it, the shell had already passed. If it was aimed at you, you never heard it at all. German propaganda played up the 88's effectiveness, and, for once, they weren't exaggerating. Allied intelligence reports from 1943 and 1944 consistently rated the 88 as the most dangerous anti-tank weapon on any front. Training manuals specifically addressed how to avoid or neutralize 88 positions. The answer was usually artillery, airstrikes, or flanking maneuvers. Direct assault was considered almost suicidal. The gun's effectiveness lasted until the end of the war. Even when Allied forces had air superiority and overwhelming numbers, the 88 remained deadly. Late-war German defensive positions were built around 88 emplacements. A single well-positioned gun with good sight lines and ammunition could hold up an entire armored column for hours. By war's end, Allied tankers had learned to respect and fear the 88 more than almost any other weapon. It combined range, accuracy, penetration, and rate of fire into a package that had no real counter except overwhelming firepower. Tank crews who survived the war often cited the 88 as the weapon that terrified them most. Not the Tiger tank, not the Panther, the 88 itself. That high-velocity nightmare that could reach out across kilometers and end your life before you even knew you were being targeted. That's why it became every tank crew's worst nightmare, and why its reputation survives 80 years later.